Welcome back to The Spirits Educator. My name is Brian Donnelly. The Spirits Educator is a digital education platform and trade resource for the distilled spirits industry. My aim is to provide in-depth spirits information, brand transparency, and category education for distributor sales teams, service industry and hospitality members, and motivated enthusiasts. I currently work for a major wine and spirits distributor, but my work here on The Spirits Educator is completely unaffiliated with my current employer. Today I'm going to be talking about the Colonel E.H. Taylor brand. I'm going to be referencing a script that I wrote for this video so I can communicate all the information correctly. Who was E.H. Taylor? Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. was born in Columbus, Kentucky in 1832. Taylor was a descendant of two United States presidents, James Madison and Zachary Taylor. He worked as a banker and a local politician in Frankfort, even serving as the city's mayor for 16 years, from 1871 to 1887. It was while working as a banker that Taylor first began to finance local distilleries around Frankfort. In 1869, he bought his first distilleries, first purchasing the small Leestown Distillery and then the Carlisle Distillery. The following year, he renamed the distillery Old Fashioned Copper, or OFC. Although many believe the original name was Old Fire Copper. In 1878, Taylor ran into financial trouble and sold the distillery to George T. Stagg. Stagg then hired Taylor to run the distillery, which he renamed after himself in 1904. The freshly renamed George T. Stagg Distillery would eventually become the current Buffalo Trace Distillery in 1992. What is a Kentucky Colonel? The state's governor gave Taylor the honorary title of Kentucky Colonel. The title has no affiliation with any military rank, but instead recognizes his many accomplishments and contributions to the local community. Next, let's talk about the Old Taylor Castle Distillery. Taylor worked at the George T. Stagg Distillery for several years, rebuilt his finances, then built a new distillery from the ground up on Glens Creek in Millville, south of Frankfort. The Old Taylor Castle Distillery opened in 1887 and was like no other distillery at the time. Unlike most bourbon distilleries, which look like mills or factories, the Old Taylor Distillery was built to look attractive and appealing. Taylor made his distillery resembling a medieval European castle, including a classically inspired spring house and sunken gardens. There was also a train station and updated road infrastructure for cars to allow visitors to visit the distillery easily. He was ahead of his time, paving the way for what would now be known as bourbon tourism. E.H. Taylor brought more than just architecture to the bourbon industry. He brought real innovation. He was credited with several modernizations to production, including copper fermentation tanks, still design, sour mash techniques, and steam heat cycled rack houses. Perhaps Taylor, along with his contemporaries and acquaintances in the bourbon industry, is most famous for his political lobbying to ensure the new Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. Consumers would finally be given an indication of quality and authenticity for the whiskey they bought during a time when producers and wholesalers would sell altered, counterfeit, or even dangerous products. The distillery had to close down operations in the lead up to Prohibition. The Taylor Distillery was not one of the 6 distilleries permitted to sell medicinal spirits during the 13 years of Prohibition, which lasted from 1920 to 1933. After Prohibition finally ended with the passage of the 21st Amendment, National Distillers, previously the American Medicinal Spirits Company, purchased the Old Taylor Distillery in 1935 and all their inventory of aging whiskey. National Distillers drastically increased production at the Old Taylor Distillery and their other distilleries to meet the post-Prohibition consumer demand. In the 1970s, bourbon slowly fell out of popularity and consumers' drinking trends shifted to vodka, rum, gin, and other clear spirits. In 1972, National Distillers stopped production and closed the Old Taylor Distillery. The property became abandoned. All the buildings and structures fell into a state of disrepair and deterioration for more than 40 years. The distillery was eventually sold to Jim Beam in 1987. Finally, the Buffalo Trace Distillery, owned by parent company Sazerac Company in New Orleans, purchased the Old Taylor Bourbon brand in 2009. Since 2011, Sazerac continues to produce bourbon under the E.H. Taylor brand at the Buffalo Trace Distillery. The historic Old Taylor Distillery was purchased and renovated in 2016 and is once again distilling and producing spirits under the Castle and Key brand. The new Castle and Key Distillery is not affiliated with the E.H. Taylor brand, but I will cover the Castle and Key brand in a later video. Alright, next let's talk mash bill. All core expressions of E.H. Taylor Jr. use Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 1, which is a traditional bourbon mash bill of corn, rye, and malted barley with a low percentage of rye. The same mash bill is used for other popular bourbons from the Buffalo Trace Distillery, including Benchmark, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, and George T. Stagg. The E.H. Taylor brand is extremely experimental, so many of the line extensions or limited releases such as Rye, 4-Grain, Amaranth, and 18-year will be produced using something other than mash bill number 1. Next, I'm going to go through the full E.H. Taylor Jr. lineup and highlight how each expression is different. The E.H. Taylor Small Batch uses Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 1, which we already discussed is a traditional bourbon mash bill of corn, rye, and malted barley with a low percentage of rye. This product is bottled and bond at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. Single Barrel. This uses Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 1, and each barrel is hand-picked for bottling. This product is bottled and bond at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. Barrel Proof expression uses Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 1. Each barrel is hand-selected and bottled directly from the barrel, which means that there is no water added to proof down the whiskey before bottling. Again, this product is bottled uncut or unfiltered at 125 proof or 62.5% ABV. I just want to add a side note. Anytime you see cask strength or barrel proof, that means that no water is added to that product before bottling to proof it down to 100 proof or 90 proof or 80 proof, which would be 50% ABV or 40% ABV, for example. The E.H. Taylor Jr. Straight Rye expression uses Buffalo Trace's rye mash bill, and this product is bottled and bonded at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. 4-Grain expression uses a 4-grain mash bill of corn, rye, wheat, and malted barley. This product is matured for 12 years and bottled and bonded at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. Amaranth expression, I'm going to read a little description on this product directly from the E.H. Taylor website. This bourbon honors Taylor's enduring spirit of innovation and commitment to exceptional whiskey by introducing Amaranth as a flavoring grain. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Amaranth was originally cultivated by the Aztecs and is known as the grain of the gods. This ancient grain is similar to wheat but offers a complex taste with subtle flavors ranging from a nose of butterscotch and spearmint to a finish of pecans and dark berries. Amaranth roughly translates to never fading, just like the legacy of Colonel Taylor, the founding father of the modern bourbon industry. This product is bottled and bonded at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. 18-year marriage expression is matured 18 years combining barrels from 3 signature mash bills, including 2 different rye mash bills and their wheated bourbon mash bill. This product is bottled and bonded at 100 proof or 50% ABV. The E.H. Taylor Jr. Cured Oak expression is aged inside oak barrels made with staves cured for 13 months, more than twice as long as a typical barrel stave. This extended curing process extracts the rich characters deep within the wood. The barrels are aged inside Warehouse C, built by Colonel Taylor in 1885, as his primary aging warehouse. The last expression that I'm going to talk about is the E.H. Taylor Jr. Warehouse C Tornado Surviving expression. On Sunday evening, April 2nd, 2006, a severe storm with tornado-strength winds tore through central Kentucky, damaging 2 Buffalo Trace Distillery aging warehouses. One of the damaged warehouses was Warehouse C, a treasured warehouse on the property built by Colonel E.H. Taylor Jr. himself in 1885. It sustained significant damage to its roof and north brick wall, exposing a group of aging bourbon barrels to the elements. That summer, the exposed barrels waited patiently while the roof and walls were repaired, meanwhile being exposed to central Kentucky climate. When these barrels were tasted years later, it was discovered that the sun, wind, and elements that they had experienced created a rich bourbon and flavor that was unmatched. This was truly a special batch of barrels, and though the distillery does not hope for another tornado, it does feel lucky to be able to release this once-in-a-lifetime product. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like and subscribe, and if you're interested in supporting the Spirits Educator channel further, please consider becoming a Patreon member. I'll have a link below in the description. And as always, please drink responsibly.